Hello YouTube, this is Argentus Maximus and I'm bringing an audio-visual version of Rhythm and Price number 15 today, which was called Beads and Washers for Barter, a ruling class behaviour for wealth and power. Listen to what I say, don't look at what I do. I think that the above phrase could be a quote come from the mouth of any ruler of a country, corporate owner, religious leader, or industrial magnate. But they would say that to their inferiors, their subjects and employees, those who represent their personal means of production. It's not what they would say to their sons and daughters who will one day inherit the throne, whatever form that happens to be. And listen to what I say, don't look at what I do, could also be the business plan for a con man. Let's go back in history 400 years or more. The explorers from Europe bartered or traded glass beads, which the Native Americans valued highly, in exchange for real goods, which were then shipped back home and sold for cash. The Native Americans had beads for a long time before, but the manufacture and colours of the glass beads from the traders were from a different technology. You see, in Venice, bead making went back thousands of years, and they were very good at it. They used glass. Also, glass can be used to make a greater variety of shapes and colours than, for instance, bone or antler, wood, copper or stone, as used by the Native American tribes. History shows that the Vikings, Christopher Columbus, Spanish explorers, and Jesuit priests all traded glass beads for commodities in various times and places. I think it's clear in hindsight, and we have no problem today saying which of the two societies got the greater wealth from the deals. The Native Americans in these places, and in the other cases I gave, valued what they could not get locally and what they liked to have. There was a shade of bead which was the colour of the sky. It was a transparent glass colour, and this had particular value for the Native Americans. It was scarce, it was unobtainable before, and it was highly desirable to them. They traded what they had in abundance in exchange for these beads, which were a kind of currency. The explorer traders arbitraged for value what they could get cheaply and what was desired by the other side at home. They ended up with money in staggering amounts, and they got it with cheap glass made from sand. Who funded those exploration and trading voyages? They were joint ventures between the ruler and the sea captain, and the proceeds were usually split something like 90 to 10 to the crown, or similar. These were massively profitable ventures, and they led to the creation, for example, of the Hudson Bay Trading Company. Let's fast forward to today. I go to the shop and I take cash out of my pocket to buy stuff with. I had to work hard for that cash, and somebody got my intellectual ability and my limited man hours in exchange for their paper. It has writing printed on it, and the paper is manufactured in a special way that neither I nor my friends can manufacture locally, or at least if we tried we could not make them so well. The ruler of my country, which is Ireland, prints these notes out with happy ease at the permission or license of the European Central Bank, which is the agent of the ruler of another country, or federation of countries, depending upon your perspective. So here I am in the shop, and I buy my newspaper and groceries and items, and I hand over my hard-earned paper cash in exchange. And the sales clerk gives me my change. My change is a mixture of more paper and coins. The coins are not copper, the small coins are not copper, but they are copper-coloured steel alloy. The larger coins, the 1 and 2 euro coins, are bimetallic. Basically, this means it's a washer, made an industrial type of washer, made of nickel copper, and the centre hole has been filled in with a different alloy of nickel brass to produce two colours. Or in other words, a washer, nicer in appearance than either I or my friends could make locally. Although I should make the observation that the new washers down at the hardware store, which I can buy in boxes of 1,000, they are shinier, and they do have a hole in the middle to pass my nuts and bolts through. If I hold a magnet over my legal tender coins, they stick to magnets the same as the hardware washers of steel. My gold and silver coins, they don't stick to my magnet. There's no steel there. I feel like I'm being paid the same as a 16th century Native American or Polynesian or African by the rulers of today, using coloured paper and washers instead of coloured beads, though. There's not much change. So the people who trade these paper and steel coins often have their logo on the back. So I checked it out on the internet, which is handy for looking up stuff like this. See? There's the Irish one with a harp on the back. Let's look at the UK. And there's a nice picture of Queen Elizabeth. They all seem to like to put their logo on the back. So I looked up some of the UK currency. And what did I see? Here's a nice picture of Her Majesty and the Queen Elizabeth in her Bank of England's vault. Those shelves might be made of steel with a covering on them, but I don't think that's steel that's on the shelves. I did another search. Here's President Putin from Russia. There's no steel or paper there. President Putin's got gold. And that guy behind him looks pleased. I tried to find a nice US picture, but what I mostly found was news reports about President Roosevelt taking gold off the people and giving them legal tender, which was as good as gold. I found a story about President Nixon ending the gold exchange window at a later date so they couldn't convert their paper back into gold. I guess US presidents like to keep their gold away from their people too. I'm impressed that their own congressmen in America can't even look at the American gold. No idea why. That's a strange thing. Mind you, most people see a strange thing and then move on. I see a strange thing, and my trading experience has taught me to stop right there and look into it. Because I have learned down the years that unfixed strange things often seem to have a habit of being somehow involved when something goes wrong later. I notice that the President of France took his gold out of the US, and Nixon didn't like that much. He closed that gold window a little later. So these people don't like giving their gold out all that much. Come to think of it, Germany didn't get their gold when they wanted it last year. I think they're still waiting. I looked up the price of gold in 1913, 100 years ago. It was $18.92. Today it costs $1,328 in non-gold dollars, made of paper. This clarifies a lot. Gold goes up in the long term. The con man says, listen to what I say, don't look at what I do. But my father used to say it different to me. He said, watch what I do and how I do it. I guess my dad was looking out for my best interests and giving me good advice. These steely washer coins and coloured paper legal tender money, I accept them, I have to, and I pass them on as quick as I can to someone else who values them, and I trade them for real stuff, just like those 16th century traders did. If a dollar went from 1333 to $18.92 against gold in 100 years, that's only 1.4% left of it, a decrease of 98.6% in its value at buying real stuff, like gold. So maybe gold not going up in price. Maybe the dollar went down 98.6%. And some people have noticed it and other people haven't. If gold is good enough for Queen Elizabeth and President Putin and President Roosevelt, and they all give legal tender paper out and washer coins out and take gold in, just like their ancestors did 400 years before them with the Native Americans and Polynesians and Africans, then I think that should be good advice for me too. You have to study sometimes what the people do at the top, not what they say. Best regards, Argentus Maximus.